back and
This meeting is being recorded.
but now I'm going to hand over the stage to Mehdi and Ellie to introduce themselves and to carry on for the presentation for the day.
Perfect. Maybe before we just start with the presentation, we can just introduce ourselves very quickly. So first of all, very nice meeting you all, and thank you for the introduction. My name is Eli. I'm the operations manager of the Beauty Makers, which is a division under STI. And what we do as Beauty Makers mainly is that we manage own concept brands, beauty brands within the group. So we have a makeup brand, a fragrance brand. We also work on Beauty Nation, which I'm sure you're familiar by now. And hopefully as well in the near future, more new brands to come up on concept brands. And with me, I have also Mehdi and Yumna. I'll let them introduce each other.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Ladies first.
Hi, everyone.
Name is Yumna.
And I'm working under Ellie's team, and I do product registration. Yeah, that's it.
And my name is Mehdi. Nice to meet you all. So yeah, I'm working in Ellie's team as well. I joined the group 5 months ago, and I'm in charge of all of the demand planning tasks for the brand part of the Beauty Makers. So yeah, nice to meet you.
All right. So I'll share my screen. We have, Mehdi has worked on a couple of slides. We have some few slides to show you. We thought maybe we can just explain to you in general the demand planning process and the supply planning process, just to give you an idea. And maybe at the end we can have a bit of discussion. I mean, definitely if you have any questions anytime you can ask. And we'll also talk about the registration, which I'm sure you have a lot of questions on. I'm just going to share my screen. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Not yet.
Oh, yeah.
Not yet.
Also, Eli, if I may, is there a way we can improve the microphone on perhaps your computer or the volume?
Yeah.
Let me mute and I mute.
Yeah, I mute and you take the lead if you want.
Yeah.
Is it allowing you to share, Ellie? I can't hear you now. Oh, he's connecting to audio. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, amazing. I'm just going to share my screen.
Yeah. Supply chain intro, pink and beautiful, amazing. Love it.
All right, so we're going to start maybe to talk about demand planning as a beginning. So maybe just very quickly before we go into demand planning, to give you an idea, supply chain mainly covers, I would say, three main things, as three main pillars. The first part is obviously the demand planning, which is in a nutshell forecasting and building the forecast so that you have the right quantities to supply the retailer or the location that you have. And the second part is supply planning, how we can build a plan to have the right stock level and the stock quantities, and what is the regular process for that. And the third part, which is obviously the registration, the regulatory requirements, how to go around registration. So I'm just going to start with demand planning and leave it to Mehdi to take you through it.
Sorry, I'm just myself.
No, just go ahead.
Okay. Do you hear me?
Can you hear Mehdi?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so let's start by the demand planning process. So as you can see, ops team, I don't know if you can see my mouse, the ops team, so Ellie's team, I'm seeing myself as, I'm seeing ourselves as a witch, actually. Yeah, we are in the middle of the circuit. So as you can see, it's a closed circuit. The first part is to consolidate a certain number of inputs coming from stores. And these inputs are the sales history, the shortages that you can see on our items, the seasonality, so the monthly seasonality during the year, and the trend. So if we are increasing or if we are decreasing. Based on these infos, we try to build a forecast, meaning that we try to build 12 rolling months forecasts based on marketing and sales inputs, of course. And when I say marketing and sales inputs, it could be some promotions, some animations that we are planning to do in the upcoming months on certain products, or maybe on the full brand. We take into account, of course, the next events, like the ones that happen each year, like the Ramadan period, the different Eids, Al-Kabir and Al-Saghir, the UAE or KSA National Day, and so on. So everything is well reflected in the forecast. And then we have a monthly meeting that I will give some details on it just after. We have a monthly meeting with all the team around the table. When I say all the team, I'm thinking about the marketing, the GM of the brand, the sales, operations. We sit all together around the table and we align on a common vision of the forecast. This vision, as I said, is including everything, and we align on it, and then we share it with the supply planning team. The supply planner will build the supply needs that will be shared with suppliers. So as you can see, we are on the left side of the slide. As soon as the suppliers receive our needs, they will produce and they will send us the products that will arrive to the warehouse. And then stores will order quantities from warehouse to fulfill their shelves and needs. Yeah. So the main direction here of this process, of this demand planning process, as I said, is to align three different visions. The first one is ours as Ops team. The second one is the financial trend. And when I say financial trend, I mean the budget that is updated, I think, 2 times per year, and marketing and sales ambition. In order to agree on the total figure, of course, we need to agree, of course, on the monthly phasing, and to allocate the right quantities at the country level, having in mind that the forecasting that we are doing here is a central forecast, meaning that we are doing the forecast for the full region, including all of the countries where our products are sold. Okay. Do you have any question about this first part? Feel free to ask. No, it was clear. Okay. So next slide. So here is the main points that a demand planner, a sales planner, is supposed to focus on. So we have two parts: the forecasting and the item grading. The forecasting, which is the main part. We start by do an analysis on the year-to-date, year-to-go analysis, on the year-to-date, year-to-go, sorry. So each month we have the sales, we have the official sales, and we compare our year-to-date to the year-to-go. Let me give you an example. By the end of April, we had we landed at X million, and we are supposed to do Y million in the future. And we align with the business if these figures are making sense or not, meaning that if it will make us reach our target or not. The second part is the comparison between operations forecasts and the budget, meaning that, and this is the very important part, at the beginning of each year or at the end of the year before, that each brand set a budget for next year. So we have a budget for 2022, and the forecasts are showing where we are during the year versus the budget. The budget is the targets set by marketing and sales, mainly sales actually. And each month, we, as a demand planner, I need to show to the business if we will be able to reach that target or not. During the same time, we do the split per month, meaning that, as I said in the previous slide, we have a seasonality per month. We have some months that are supposed to be heavier than other months. For example, Ramadan, end of year, the end of year for UAE, as we have Christmas and so on. So we align on this vision. And then I need to share with the third point is the forecast split per category that I need to share with the team as well. Meaning that in some brands, we have different categories. We can have perfumes, we can have makeup, we can have hair care in the same brand. And I need to show the split per category to the brand in order to see again if we are aligned with what they have in mind. So this is the third point. And then the fourth one is the performance of our items, of our products, meaning that I need to show to the team which references are performing best and which products we need to focus on, which products we need to put in how can I say, to highlight them on shelves and so on, and which ones we need to consider probably to discontinue them, but it's the lowest performance ones. And this is very important, as each year we are supposed to do a catalog rationalization, to review the catalog and to start to talk about which items we need to focus on, as I said, and which ones we need to discontinue and maybe replace them by new launches. Yeah, this discussion is done with the product development team. So this was for the forecasting part. And then we have the item grading. For the item grading, we have two different grading that we do when we launch a new brand. At the beginning, when we have a new launch, we align on the item grading with the team, meaning with the product development / marketing team. So they expect to see some items performing super well, and they expect some other items to perform maybe a bit less. So we build our forecast based on this item grading, meaning that A's are supposed to have a weight around 65% of the business, B's the 20 other percent, and the 15, and the C's are the 15% of the bottom, meaning the worst products. So we align on this item grading with the marketing. We build our forecast based on it, and then after a few months, when we start to have historical data and so on, we see if this item grading was good or needs to be reviewed. And this is what we are doing, for example, currently with Beauty Nation, reviewing the item grading, because what we expected at the beginning is not necessarily what we will have after a few months of sale. Voila. Do you have any question about these two topics, or forecasting or item grading? No? It was clear? Don't hesitate, guys.
I'm not so sure if they still can hear us or we can hear them.
Yeah,
Well,
we can hear you.
Oh,
Okay.
They're just a quiet bunch this morning. Or else you're explaining stuff really, really well, so they've no question.
Which is cool. Okay. Yeah.
okay. I just want to point out something very important, that today demand planning is a base of supply chain, and it's the start of supply chain. In the past, this is something that wasn't being implemented in supply chain very well, especially here in the region. And this is something that, especially us in the group, we've been focusing on a lot lately. The reason why we do that, because in the past, our forecast was built based on just putting numbers together in Excel, which is actually not the right way. Demand planning is about seeing all the other departments, all the other relevant stakeholders, how they will affect the sales, whether it's the commercial team through, I don't know, through incentives or staff or location in the store, whether it's the marketing team by animating products, whether it's the product development team by, I don't know, when you launch a new product, how it will affect, how it could affect other existing products in the assortment. So demand planning is super, super important, because this is the base that will be taken to build the right quantities to produce or to supply the retailers. And obviously in the end, no one wants to run out of stock, because this is where the brand will start losing momentum and will start losing customers. And also no one wants to be overstocked, because this is obviously bad for business in cash. All right.
Yeah.
Yes, I have one question actually.
Yeah.
Let's say if you launch a new category or a new brand or see like a new trend, let's say in general, like how many months will you give this new brand or category or trend the chance to show the performance, for example?
Like, just to be sure that I understood, after how many months can we settle if a brand is performing well or not? This is your question?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So usually it's 3 months after the launch. 3 months after the launch, we have enough background, if I can say, to see how the brand is performing. Of course, it's a discussion that we will have with the brand. It could be for several reasons that we are not reaching our target. So yeah, the first official discussion that we will have about the performance of a launch, it's 3 months after the launch. Because 3 months after the launch, we are not in a launch mode anymore. We are in a baseline mode, meaning that we start talking about replenishment. So we need to settle what quantities needs to be sent to the market, if we need to send a lot of quantities, or we just need to send them a few ones because the sales are not performing, etc., etc.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And definitely, just to add to Mehdi's point, that 3 months is definitely a good timeline. We just have to keep in mind that there could be factors outside the brand's performance. And there are KPIs that need to be set, in my opinion, to see whether they are being achieved or not, and whether the achievement of these KPIs are helping with the brand results. An example could be that you might have launched a brand, but you might have, let's say, your key product, your star product, that was not available at the launch of the brand. Another factor could be, let's say you launched a brand, but maybe you didn't have a staff, let's say, brand promoter allocated on the brand from the start, and then you were able to do it maybe a month or 2 months after, and then you started seeing the results. So there are a few factors that needs to be taken into account, or KPIs, and you have to see whether these are impacting the overall performance of the brand. But again, 3 months, like Mehdi said, is an ideal period to assess the performance of the brand.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, if we don't have any other questions, we'll move on to the supply planning. All right. So when it comes to supply planning, and I'm just gonna go a bit quick on it. And again, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. So the main thing when it comes to supply planning is definitely making sure that we have the right stock level available, whether in the warehouse or with the retailer. And the way to build the right stock level is by looking at few factors, which we have here. So the first one is definitely the lead time, the delivery or the production lead time of the product. And when it comes to a brand, let's say in your case, you have to obviously look at production lead time, how long it takes you to produce a product in your factories, whether and it's not just production, it's also obviously production, which will also include securing the raw material. So raw material, securing of the raw material, the filling of the components, the assembly, all of that needs to be taken into account in the lead time, plus the delivery to your warehouse and delivery to the retailer's location. So all of these things need to be factored for you to have an idea on the overall lead time of the product. And the second point is the item grading, which Mehdi has mentioned in the previous slide. This is very important because today for us, we need to make sure that we're always secured on the best-selling items. And nowadays, obviously, forecasts are never 100% accurate. We always have this, could be plus or minus 10% error in our forecast, which will also impact the supply planning. So for us to be on the safe side, we need to put a buffer on the A items or the B items to make sure that we're always securing our top performers from the brand. And the third part is definitely when we want to work on the target stock level is the monthly sales quantities that is built in the demand planning part. So we take that, we see what are our monthly sales quantities, and based on the ABCs and the delivery lead time, we define a target stock level. So for example, just to give you an idea, let's take an example that a product is already available in your warehouse and you need to supply to a retailer. A retailer will build his target stock level by looking at the lead time, which, let's say an example could be 1 month from the date of placing the order. And if the product is an A item, they might want to add another month as buffer. So they will keep 2 months of stock in their store, which means that they will take the 2 months and they will see based on their forecasted monthly sales, how much that would represent. It could represent, let's say 50 pieces, and they will order the 50 pieces based on that. And the last point is the minimum display quantity. So in the cases of some brands, they obviously might have their own display unit or their own furniture in the store. And the furniture will in some cases have minimum quantities to display and fulfill the shelf need. So some brands might have 2 pieces, some brands might have 6 pieces, and this could also depend on the SKU or the grading of the SKU. And the reason why I say grading of the SKU is that sometimes when the forecast is done, the sales forecast might be quite low. We might have, even on A items, 3 or 4 pieces monthly sales per location or per store. So what retailers would tend to do is that they would want to put a minimum quantity for these items to make sure that in absolute value, we're always secured. So an example could be going back to an A item. An A item could be selling on a monthly basis in a specific location, 2 pieces a month, just as an example. So if they want to have 2 months of stock, it means that they would be securing, they will need 4 pieces. But 4 pieces might be a bit low for a location. So they will set the MDQ or the minimum display quantities at 6 pieces. So the order quantities will be higher than the target stock coverage. Do you have any question on this part? Okay. Okay, so I'll move to the second part, which is the shipping documents. And this is something which I'm sure you'll all be, you need to know and you might be aware about. So
I have a question on this.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll cover it at a later stage, or maybe it's not appropriate now. But just from in terms of like the minimum quantities, how is this, like for us, for example, that will be the first time launching, how should will you tell us on a monthly basis based on the stores, like the initial quantity? I mean, keeping in mind, obviously, I don't know what KPIs will be used for us, because it is, it's not probably like the other suppliers that you're dealing with, because it's an accelerator, you're doing much to support us and so on. So just for our own planning, what will this be done with you guys, or will this be done at a later phase, or how?
Yeah, so how it's going to be done at the launch time is that obviously you'll be launching your brands with faces, and you'll be on beautynation.com. So with beautynation.me, it will be with us directly. So it's with me, Mehdi, and with our supply planner. Her name is Mariam. She couldn't be with us today. And with faces, you'll be dealing directly with the faces supply chain team. But in principle, how this is going to be built is by these factors which we have here, by checking with you how long it will take to have the delivery lead time, because you might be delivering from abroad, not locally supplying, meaning that if you are, let's say, from the States or from Australia and so on. So this is something that we need to consider, and we need to check with you how long the delivery lead time, in your opinion, would take. You might tell us it might take 2 weeks, it might take 1 month. It's really subject to what you think is doable based on the on getting also the papers done, the documents done. And the second point is by the team, so the retailers, us for BeautyNation.me, and Faces with their own team will need to see the overall plan, including the marketing plan, which is very important, and see how much they would expect, and we would expect in terms of sales from all of this marketing that is being done. I know that last year there was a big plan online that happened, especially on performance marketing, and we saw really good results online. So this is something as well that we need to keep in mind to make sure that we have the right quantities ordered to fulfill the sales need. And the last part, the minimum display online is different than offline. Offline, it will really depend on the shelf space. So how much in the store you're being given space, and how much you need quantities to fill that space. Online, on the other hand, it will vary from 4 to 6 pieces, depending on the item grading, because for online, we like to set the minimum display quantities to be also based on the item grade, not just, I don't know, specific quantities across all grades.
Okay, no, that's very clear. And then, so then we will have, or we can reach out to you later on a one-on-one basis to look at this, you know, because every brand is different. And for us, for example, we already have the answers to a lot of these, you know, questions in terms of lead time and so on. So that's something we can approach you guys bilaterally.
Yes. So
Okay.
we'll be in touch with you directly. Of course, from our side, we'll be coordinating with our category management team or the commercial team to align on the item grading, to align on the forecasted sales, and then we will break it down and we will share with you our opening orders. And of course, we will be asking you, we will come to you asking questions like the lead time. And there are also some other things that we need to be working on, like creating the item on the system, aligning with you what are the retail prices, the purchase prices, and so on.
Yeah. And then the shipment will be done door to door from one of the previous emails that was shared by the team in terms of, you know, the logistics of it. It will be our responsibility to ship to each
100%.
location.
100%.
Okay.
So the shipping, I mean, I'm assuming you're shipping from abroad. You're not locally supplying.
From the US, yeah, from the US.
Okay. So this is a discussion that actually we had as BeautyNation.me with Faces, because we really wanted to simplify things with you. We're trying to actually club all of the orders together. So whatever you want to send to Faces and you want to send to BeautyNation, we club it under one order, because we do understand that it can be costly to segregate shipments and ship, especially to Saudi, where you have to issue document per shipment. So this is something that we will work out together to make sure that it's very clear for you. But when it comes to like requirements to ship and the documents we have here, I mean, we have some of the requirements mentioned, like obviously the invoice, packing list, delivery note. If you're supplying from abroad, you don't need to provide that. DGR document, which is a document in case your products are dangerous goods, meaning that, let's say, they have alcohol or they're flammable and so on. And bill of entry, which is something that's actually provided, and airway bill number. They are provided by the forwarder. If you're working with DHL, for instance, DHL can issue these for you. Now, what's also another requirement which is not mentioned here, it's for Saudi, and this is very important, is the certificate of compliance, or SASO, and the SABR certificate. But this is subject to the product type. This is why I didn't put it here. So in the case of, let's say—
What was the second certificate? Sorry, I missed it. What was the second one?
The second one is the SABR certificate, SABER. And I know that Nood will require this certificate because SABR is actually required for products that are non-cosmetics, or products that don't have formulas in them. It could be like, I don't know, ready-to-wear products, fashion products, accessories, like, I don't know, an example could be like tools, facial tools, like a roller, or let's say lashes, eyelashes, things that don't have formula. These will need cyber certificate. However, products with formula like a serum, a skincare serum, or a cream, or even, I guess, even the hand sanitizer, if I'm not mistaken, will need to have a SASO certificate or a certificate of compliance. And this is, I mean, this is part of the product registration process.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for clarifying.
No problem. Okay, anyone has any questions on these points?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
So you mentioned that if we will be shipping with DHL, however, DHL does not clear the customs. So I've had an issue with them where they just do freight forwarding, and I had to hire another custom clearance in the local country to clear the shipment.
Mm-hmm.
So can you just clarify how would we do this? For example, when it comes to Saudi?
Okay, so with us, we can actually help you on it. We can put you in touch with our clearing agent, or we put DHL in touch with our clearing agent that can support with all of this. It's not a big issue.
Okay, but just to confirm, we actually need to work with two different parties. One a freight forwarder, like the one who ships, and then the one who clears.
Yeah, sometimes, like you said, sometimes the freight forwarder, they don't themselves do the clearance. They work with the clearing agent. But normally, I mean, what I know is that the freight forwarder should be in touch directly with the clearing agent. So if you tell DHL that your clearing agent is X in Saudi, you give them the contact details, they should be in touch with them directly.
Okay.
Because they are I mean, they have all the, they will have all the documents directly with them, the original documents. They will also know when the shipment arrives at the port or at the airport, so that they get in touch directly with the agent.
Okay. So if we want to ship our products to Saudi, we have to handle this part, right?
So yeah, we will work on it together. So we will put you in touch with our logistics team. We have a logistics team that can support on all of this. So what you need to do is that you need to issue obviously the invoice packing list, airway bill number, and the bill of entry with the
shipping company.
With the shipping company. And I guess in your case as well, you need to do a certificate of compliance for Saudi, or the SASO certificate, which you can do with Intertac. I don't know if you have in Lebanon Intertac, I'm not so sure, or SGS.
We have SGS, yeah.
So SGS should be able to help you with the SASO certificate.
Okay, and that's for the product registration.
No, SASO is actually not the product registration. It is one of the shipping requirements. Documents requirements. But for you to issue a SASO certificate, you need to have the product registered first. Otherwise, you won't be able to issue it. Because when you request to have a SASO, they will ask you for the product notification number or the registration number of the product.
Okay.
Just a question on this. It seems like it will take quite a while to follow through on all of these different steps. So I just want to get a better understanding of when we're expected to actually ship it over to be in the warehouses in Saudi.
Good question. And I think this is something that even Sinead wanted us to touch base on. So the first, I think, and what we really need to understand from your end, from each brand, is that first of all, where are you importing from? Are you importing, or are you supplying locally in each market? Meaning that for Saudi orders, do you have a Saudi distributor or a warehouse in Saudi to supply? And same thing goes for UAE, or are you supplying from abroad? This will make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak on our brand. I'm assuming this is the same for most brands. I don't think anyone's selling in Saudi.
Okay, so let's assume you are shipping from abroad, and for all brands, the same thing. So the first thing is that we need to work on the registration of your products. And the registration will need to be done by the importing, by the consignee, or the company that will be importing the goods under the name. So in the case of Saudi, because you are issuing the invoice to our company in Saudi, which is Fitra will need to do the registration for you. But we need to have the documents from your side. So we need the documents will be provided from your side. And I'm not so sure if you have the requirements. If not, we can share with you the requirements after the call. And once we have the requirements from your side, we should be able to apply for the registration, which will take around 2 weeks for Saudi, and even for UAE, roughly 2 weeks, give or take 2 weeks. Again, once we have all the documents from your side. So
Can you send us a list of what those documents are?
definitely. So once the registration is done, again, let's assume 2 weeks after, this is when we can start placing the orders with you, and you can start preparing the orders and all of the requirements. So one thing that I cannot really give you an answer on is the issuing the SASO certificate, because the SASO certificate will have to come from the country where you are shipping from. So if you are shipping from the States, you need to get in touch with the authorized body to issue the SASO certificate. And frankly speaking, I don't know how long it can take for them to issue it. I know that here in the UAE, SASO certificate can take 3 to 5 working days. I don't know if it's the same abroad.
Yeah, I mean, we're manufacturing here, so it should be fine to get that.
Okay, amazing.
Certificate of compliance, you mean, right?
Exactly. It's
Okay.
certificate of compliance and SASO certificate are the same. And again, same thing goes for Saber. Like in the case of Nood, you need to issue a Saber certificate. But the good news about Saber is that we issue it ourselves. Our company in Saudi will issue it. It won't be issued by the brand, not by you guys. So our company in Saudi will do it. And again, it will take, I mean, up to 5 working days, something like that, to have it done once we have the documents received. And the documents are not complicated for Saber. They're quite straightforward, and we can share it with you as well.
Really, what would be great is if we could just better understand, like, step by step, this is what needs to happen first, this is what needs to happen second. Because I think, I mean, on our end, it's really unclear which one is first, how long the timelines are. And I think from what we were understanding is that we would be sort of online maybe at the end of June. It doesn't seem realistic to comply with all of this and ensure that all the products are shipped there in that time frame.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I told this to Sinead that this will really depend on the readiness of the documents. So in the case that, let's say you're not registered at all in UAE or Saudi, if we have your documents, I'm sure it's not possible, but let's say we have the documents from your side by early next week, we should be able to have the products on shelf maybe by, I don't know, end of June to beginning of July, something like that.
Yeah, so just to touch on that as well, Zina, which is all good points. I think from our understandings, I think there was a little bit of confusion on our side, but we've realigned with Fusion Nation and with Faces. And what we're going for and planning for right now is, number one, is we want to make sure that all brands can go live together. So our main objective is that it's like super cohesive and we're all leveraging off each other. So we're going to make sure that all brands are going to be registered in both UAE and in Saudi. And Ellie, correct me if I'm wrong, but even for brands, so Zina, for Pamada Salus, even though you're not UAE fully registered yet, you can still start working on the Saudi registration. So you can work on them simultaneously. And that's the same as well for any other brand that isn't registered here. You can still start working on the Saudi one. And once we have better visibility on where everyone is, and that like most of them are towards the endpoints, then we're going to start looking at the launch date going live in store. So it's a bit of a change, but the only benefit from this is that we're missing one of the main sales periods, because we were going to go in end of June, and July starts us like a heavy sales period. So we're actually missing that, which is great because your brands won't be going on sale. And then we're also capitalizing, because pushing the program back a little bit in terms of the running in store. We're falling on better period dates where there's a lot more foot traffic within store, because you're going to be like selling during the duration of, let's say, September and stuff. So there is a pushback, and I know that we had like probably hyped you all up to say that we were going to be doing June, and everyone was pedal to the metal, but we can't do anything without the registration. So we'll just try to get that cohesive first. I think also, Ellie, just on that as well, Irina is putting into the chat as well, how do you spell the certificate that you were mentioning?
The Saber?
Yeah, I think he clarified that it's the same as certificate of compliance. Is that correct?
No, it's different. Certificate of compliance and SASO are the same,
Right.
and Saber is different. SABER.
But Saber is not relevant for skincare.
No, it's not. So if your
Okay.
products are skincare, no, you don't need Saber. It's just the SASO or certificate of compliance.
Okay, and then I was wondering if it's possible to, and I'm sure this is probably reiterated by other brands, for us to already start going and through all this list and just check from our end. If you have a list of documents already ready that you can share, that would be great already, so that we can just go one by one and do that homework already, or we have already started, but just to make sure we're not missing anything.
You mean in terms of registration?
Yes, yeah, in terms of registration, I mean, we're working, like, for example, Rena Roots, and I think also another brand or some of them are already, we're working with a third party, like a consultancy firm, Reason Mona. And they're helping us with the registration of the products. And so far, we have all the documents that they required for this process.
Okay.
So it's quite, I mean, it was very straightforward, more or less, the INCI, the certificate of analysis, the technical data sheets, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then we need to figure out with them, okay, do we need like the import, for example, tax code, or, for all of this is extra payment, which is fine, is manageable at this point, but just to make sure as well that we're doing it right and we don't have issues like at customs. So we're relying on them to kind of help us with this process. But obviously they'll come with, a bit more questions in terms of, in terms of the shipment, like I guess we should work with another party in the US like DHL or other, plus I guess Reason Mona, and where do you come in terms of helping us or suggesting agents we can work with and so on. So I guess the whole process.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, with Rena Roots, if I'm not mistaken, UAE, the requirements were already shared by Amna, who is our regulatory officer in UAE, which are, I mean, they're right, everything's fine. Saudi requirements, we will share them with you, and they're pretty much the same. There are some few additional requirements, but nothing really difficult to issue. And when it comes to shipping is where we will work on it together, because we will put you in touch directly with our logistics team, given that you are shipping from abroad, to make sure when it comes to the clearance stage, our team is involved with the clearing agent and that everything is being done smoothly. Again, the clearance will be done under our entity name. So let's say UAE is Allied, Saudi is Fitra, and because it's done under our entity name, our logistics team will be involved in the process.
Okay, no, that's clear. I think, and then maybe Celia, you can jump in if I'm mistaken, but what the confusion came that the documents that Amna shared were clear, but I think we were told that we would be in charge of doing the registration process. So this is where we worked with, or we're working with this Reason Mona consultancy. So I think we're
here, I think there are two options, because also I'm trying to get clarification from Amna on it. Today, if we do the registration under our company, Allied, it means that the importing will happen under our company. Now, if you have another company in the UAE that you want to do the registration under, we will need delegation from your side for us to import under Allied. Okay. And I'm not sure if you are planning to do that or not. Are you planning on importing under another company or our company?
I mean, we are totally new to all of this. So for us, we will do whatever it's needed, that it's smooth and, makes sense. And I mean, we're working with this consultancy firm because we thought that was the most reasonable, option, or the only sort of, option. But
my question here to you, with the consultancy firm, are they issuing the documents for you, or are they only doing the submission?
You mean the registration of the products?
Yeah.
Yes,
I
so
think-
they will.
Sorry,
Sorry.
then I was just
Yeah,
going to
go
add,
ahead.
I believe it's just that they're doing the submission for us. That's my understanding, and I think that's what we discussed with them, because they'll handle the product registration, but on our behalf, because we registered Roots LLC. And that's what everything will be registered under.
Hey, good question. I thought anyone can just register on the portal yourself. You don't need a third party.
You can do it yourself. Definitely, you can do it yourself. But you have to do it under a company with a trade license and the license which allows them to import goods, not just any license. So Rena Roots, if your company, your LLC company in the UAE, I don't know if your trade license includes importing activities. This is something that you need to make sure. If not, and if you want us to simplify things for you, we can just do the registration ourselves. You give us the documents. You don't have to go through your agent. We do it ourselves with Amna, and we do it under our company here in Allied, so that when you ship your products from abroad to UAE, you ship them directly under Allied. So the clearance will be done under Allied, which is our company in the UAE.
Can I ask a question here? Because I was also in that process, but then they advised me, because the company who registers the products, for example, here in the UAE, like the first company who does it gets the ownership of the products. So that is why I got my own trade license here and registered the product under my own name to keep the ownership. But would it be the same for Saudi? So for example, you need to have a trade license first in Saudi before being able to get the document yourself?
Mm-hmm. Now, your first question on the ownership, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I don't think it's really relevant, because you can register products under two different entities. It doesn't have to be under one entity only. And if you decide on doing it on your own entity, let's say your company that is established in the UAE, you can do a delegation to another company for them to import. So if you decide on that way, let's say you want to do the registration under your company, we will need, and you want to ship under Allied, our company in UAE directly.
We did it actually a few weeks ago, like this.
Sorry, I didn't.
Oh, we did it a few weeks like this. I registered the product under my own license here in the UAE, but the shipping, Allied, the team from Faces, they helped us. So we delegated it, for the shipping purposes. But would it be the same for Saudi? So you need to have, in order to register the products, need a license in Saudi, or?
Yeah, so in Saudi, yes, you need to have a license, and you need to have an account open with the SFDA, which is the Saudi Food and Drugs Association. You need to have an account open with them for ECOSMA, and then you'll be able to register. And for you to open an account, you'll definitely need to have a company there.
Okay, but because also here in the UAE, the process took me pretty long, and it was also pretty pricey to open also a company here. So we actually have to do the same in Saudi now.
Not necessarily, because we can do it under our own company if you want.
Okay. Thank you.
So
I had a question too. So we were kind of confused about either doing their own trade license here, but then we realized that the ownership, like you said, could be transferred easily, or it could be under multiple entities, because we weren't sure, like, do we want our own trade license and do the whole thing, or do we just want to test the waters first and then do company formation here? So with that, we were probably going to use a distributor, perhaps for the UAE, that would help us, who's doing our product registration and everything else. But what would happen in Saudi? Would the distributor be able to deal with Saudi? I guess that depends on their trade license, but there's also an option, like you said, to do it under Allied for Saudi.
So I mean, your first question, just your first point on the ownership, I really want to just to really clarify on this. I personally don't think that there is anything related to transfer of ownership. It's more on delegation. So if the registration is done in the UAE under a certain company, that company can delegate to another company to import goods under their entity. It's just a delegation. In Saudi, you can work with a distributor, definitely, and I'm sure all established distributors in Saudi have the license to import, and they should be having as well accounts with the SFDA to do the registration. But I mean, definitely this is something that will take some time. So if you're planning on launching end of June, what I do recommend is that you do it under our own company. And eventually, if you decide on going with the distributor, you can still do the registration again with the distributor. And just FYI that the registration in Saudi till today with eCosma is still for free. You're not paying for it. The only thing that we charge you on as Chalhoub is that we charge you on the administration cost for the team in Saudi to do the submission, which is, I think, 80 Saudi Riyal per notification, whether SKU or factory.
Okay, perfect.
And you can have multiple companies registering the same product. So if you decide later that you want to have your own distributor in Saudi, you can do the same thing and register under their company, and it won't cause any issue.
Okay, perfect. Maybe we can set up a call to speak specifically about our brand just to get a better idea of what we need to do, or maybe after you send out the email.
Yeah, we will share with you the requirements. Yumna will do that. And any questions you have, we can have another call if it's not clear. We can definitely then explain to you all the documents in detail.
Okay, perfect.
I also have one question for the shipping. Maybe it's a stupid question, but would there be any possibility to, let's say, for Face and Beauty Nation to ship everything to the UAE, but making sure you have the documents for Saudi? So from your warehouse in the UAE, the products can be shipped to Saudi, or would that not be possible?
I mean, nothing is not possible, but it will complicate things, honestly speaking. And it will be more costly to ship from one country and then from that country to another country.
Okay.
So I would recommend to ship directly to Saudi. That's my recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, question. Would you recommend us registering our products in Saudi with your company, or working with another agent as I did in the UAE? Because I already kind of started the process I haven't paid anything, but I'm gathering the documents. I started being in contact with someone.
That's for Saudi or UAE that you started?
For Saudi.
Well, again, it really depends on which company you will be importing on. So if you're dealing directly with us,
you can import with the trade license from the UAE. You can use that entity to import into KSA.
I don't think so. So if you have an entity, if you have, sorry, can you repeat?
A legal entity in the UAE can be a consignee and import to the KSA.
I don't think so. I highly doubt it.
Okay, I'll confirm this info then with my consultant,
Double check, because the company is not registered in Saudi, and that's not possible. You need a trade license with an importer activity for you to import into Saudi, and you can't have a company registered in UAE to do that for you in Saudi.
Okay, got it.
But I mean, for us, we can do it for you, and it's quite quick.
Yeah. So
We'll
do it with you guys.
Yeah.
But then you can, just a bit of legality, you would confirm that there's no transfer of ownership of the brand to the company clearing the goods in the KSA.
And Saudi, no, I don't think there's any transfer.
Okay. Great.
But again, like I said, the registration, you can register under more than one entity in Saudi.
Yeah.
And registration till today is for free.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, perfect. I mean, you have our emails. So if you have any other question, any certain, anytime, I know some of you are already in touch with us. feel free to definitely get in touch with us. And if you like, we can always have another call if you have more questions, especially on registration. Yumna will be sharing with you the requirements. We will share with you this presentation, just, I mean, if you'd like to go through it again. And we're available at any point in time if you need anything.
Okay. Any last questions or anything like that? Like Ellie mentioned anyway, you guys all have his email and Mehdi's if there's anything that you want to follow up on following this. But I want to thank Mehdi, Ellie and Yumna for jumping on the call and for being here, and for all the future support you're going to be giving to the brands, because I know this is going to be a nice long process for us. But yeah, that's the end of the session for today. So,
I'm so sorry. I had another question, which do you guys have the primary and secondary packaging requirements for here in Saudi?
Yes, very good question. It's a very good question. Actually, it's something that I missed on. Yeah, we do have the requirements. We'll share them with you. They're quite general. But in Saudi, what's important is to have the product type and any precautionary statement. They need to be mentioned in Arabic. And this is something.
Product type and
any precautionary statement, like how to use. How to use is not mandatory, but it's a plus for the consumer, because consumers there in Saudi are mainly Arabic speakers. But any precautionary statement, like, I don't know, keep away from eyes for skincare product or whatever, you have to mention this in Arabic. And it needs to be mentioned on the product artwork, on the artwork itself. It needs to be mentioned, because when we submit for the registration in Saudi, we need to upload the product artwork. And if they don't see Arabic in the artwork, they will reject the application.
Quick question on that same point. So if you guys can send like the requirements for UAE versus Saudi, that would be really helpful. And for UAE and Saudi, do you need, because we're going also into more traditional beauty products. So for example, if I have like a body oil or something, do I have to have it in a box, or can it all the labeling?
No, not necessarily. Secondary packaging is really optional, but as long as you have on the bottle itself, you have all the requirements, like I don't know, barcode, the made in which country, the entity on it, like your company name on it, the product type, any product type in English and Arabic for Saudi. Any precautionary statement needs to be mentioned in Arabic. And honestly, I know that some of you will already have products already produced, so the labeling, any Arabic labeling, can be done as a sticker. You can just put it as a sticker on top. It doesn't have to be like direct printing.
But we need to show the artwork with, so we need to modify our artwork to reflect what the sticker will have on it, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could just, the follow-up with the certificate requirements and the packaging requirements could be sent. I think that would be really helpful for everyone.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Any other last questions?
Yes, I would like to ask a question. So will we receive the contact information of the company who's going to assist us with registering a product in the KSA?
Do you mind just, what do you mean by content information?
Contact.
Contact. It will be us directly.
Okay. So you basically and
the Yumna.
Okay. Perfect. So just like in terms of timeline, are we looking to move relatively fast on this?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we have the documents from your side, it will take around 2 weeks to have it done in Saudi. We start first with the factory, registering the factory, and then once the factory is registered, we do the product. And all in all, it will take around 2 weeks.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay. I think we can let the guys go from now.
That's okay.
Good. So I'm sure you definitely will have follow-up questions and stuff like that. But thank you, Mehdi, Ellie, and Yumna again for your time. We really, really appreciate it. And like I said, this recording is recorded. so you can look back through the information. I'll send it out tomorrow to you, so you can go back over it. So thank you everyone for coming on, and I hope for all of the brands, if you want to stay on a minute, I'll let the other guys head off.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you very
Ellie.
much.
Bye,
Nice
everyone.
meeting you all,
Bye.
and good luck with the program.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Ellie.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Okay, and